Practical Intranet Tools Workshop.
Yes, me too. What do you know? Let's go. So welcome everyone. I'm Gerry Brimacombe, and we're going to do a quick run through of some practical Internet tools. Can we stop Galen's video, or is that just me seeing that?
You're just saying that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so welcome everyone. Let's get into this. We've got 50 minutes to build some apps. First of all, don't forget about the Microsoft 365 Collaboration Conference coming up next March. We'll see you there. Oops, finding my PowerPoint's kind of slow to click here. Let's see if we can do this one slide at a time. And thank you for our generous sponsors, without whom we would not be able to have all this fun. And they're giving fun in all different ways. So, and don't forget about the raffle, where you get to win cool tech. We know this group likes cool tech. And please feel free to type into the Q&A. We've got Russ monitoring that, as well as myself glancing over every now and then. So please ask questions as you go. And please consider donating to the COVID-19 United Way or the International Medical Corps. And the sponsors have been donating already. So wonderful stuff. And isn't it great when we can learn and do good work at the same time? So let's talk about ways that we can use our intranet in ways to engage our people and create some tools that will draw people to the internet. And I'm going to show you how to build a quick leave calendar. In fact, I'm going to build it before your very eyes, and a timesheet and an all-staff contact list. And these are three little apps, if you will, that are out of my book, the SharePoint in Practice. And we have a whole bunch of these kind of apps spec'd out in there. And what you're seeing on the left-hand side here is actually the Word version of the book before it was published and posted to Amazon and my website and stuff. So welcome. This is a very accurate picture of me. I don't know, how does it look? And I'm coming to you from Ladysmith, BC. Nobody knows where that is, so I just said the west coast of Canada. I've been training and consulting in SharePoint and using it on a daily basis since 2004. I think some of you on the call aren't even that old. So I am considered the principal consultant with Lightlever Systems, and there is a link to my book, SharePoint in Practice. In terms of outside of the SharePoint world, I'm a freak about efficiency, always trying to find a way to improve my recycling system or how I lay out my tools in my workshop. And I am a hand drummer, and I restore classic BMW motorcycles, just working on a 1974 R75/6 right now. This is an image of the book. The book is examples from real clients. The focus on our session today is on building some of these tools. We're skipping over the all-important, don't forget about it, the design and engage part. So designing these systems, what I've got here is things that I've built for other clients, but it might not be exactly what you need for your people. So there's a design phase in there. We get into it in the book, of course. And the engagement, get people involved. You can't just build it and they will come. Nope, it doesn't work that way. So, and my examples, I'm building in Microsoft 365, and this will work with most SharePoint versions. So might be a little bit different here and there, but it was actually, I've been building these since, well, it's been about 10 years, these various apps. So I have a little acronym in the SharePoint in Practice book, Tiki, shining a light on things. I don't know, insert your own dad joke here. But these are the four kind of guidelines about everything we do here. Start with templates. So we use pre-written documents like this document on the left-hand side here, test processes. We save time and improve quality of our results. And anybody who's into project management knows it's trade-off between time and cost and quality. So if we have templates, that boosts us forward to get a starting point. Involvement, we engage as many people as we can of the user community or the management team throughout the project. We get better buy-in and better results. So involvement. And then KISS, which of course stands for Keep It Simple SharePoint. I don't know what you were thinking. And we use basic out-of-the-box or no-code solutions, which is what I'll be showing today. And lastly, I, again, iterate. So what we talk about here with iteration is start simple and then expand over time. In fact, start simple and get your users using it, and then gather information from them so you can expand over time, which ties in with the involvement piece here. So Tiki, this is a really useful set of guidelines for you to do your SharePoint development. So for today, we're going to present the design build specs. So that's what's on the left-hand side here. And I have that as a handout for you. It also includes, for each of these, there's a business problem, the solution, the spec on how to build the thing, and then there's a section on ideas for enhancement and governance notes. This is just a straight out of the book, and I think you find that useful. So I will be attempting to do a fast presentation with the assumption you can watch it again on video rather than boring you by repeating myself over and over again. Hey, it's only 15 minutes. So let's get into the leave calendar. So I used to call this a vacation calendar, but then I was like, well, wait a second, it's not just vacation. Maybe there's illness. Maybe there's, time off in lieu. So let's call it a leave calendar. So here's what we're trying to accomplish. How can I easily view and track who is where, who's away? How do I check when people are on vacation? And can we use SharePoint out of the box, no code, to review and approve staff requests for vacation or leave? So the solution, it's a SharePoint calendar, people. Wow, I bet you're super surprised about that. We just customize the calendar a little bit for showing who is away and what type of away they are. And we use out-of-the-box content approval to approve the content. Whoa, now I'm being redundant from the Department of Redundancies. And if you want, you can use calendar overlays for a basic visual representation. So let me just show you what this looks like. So this is the SharePoint in Practice page. So people that buy the enhanced book get access to this page with the templates and such. And the solutions are here. Actually, I've already got it in a new tab. So here's the leave calendar. This is what it looks like. So I can go in and I can add something, let's say Saturday over here. I'm going to add a new leave type. And whenever I create a new list or library in SharePoint, I recommend you do this as well. Go ahead and do new. Adding something new in a list or library gives you some interesting viewpoint, especially a list. Right away, I can see items on this list require content approval. Your submission will not appear blah, blah, blah until somebody approves it. Well, I actually happen to be an approver on this list, so it will be approved right away. But this, when we do new, we also see all the different columns that are available to us. So let's say that I'm going to be away. And we'll just check, see who am I. There I am. And the title, you can change this field name, but this is sort of, Gerry on leave. And this is a holiday. And I'm going to be in Victoria, let's say. And let's say it's an all-day event. So when I save this, it should show up in my leave calendar. Now, what should show up in my leave calendar? What did I do? Oh, I'm getting a security validation. Okay, it's demo land, people. Things go wrong all the time. All right, let's just do this. Ironically, my session was supposed to be done yesterday, and it didn't work. So let's just assume that that's saved, no problem. Now, what we've got here with these color coding, this is calendar overlays. So I can have different views displayed differently in the calendar. So purple stuff is conferences and training, and blue is holidays, and that really doesn't display very well on this dark background. But the other thing you'll notice about this is the classic style of page here as opposed to modern. The calendars aren't yet caught up, so we still have these events and calendar tabs at the top of the screen. Okay, so what I want to do with the calendar tab is just go into the list settings here, and you have this available to you as well if you've bought the book. And notice the fields down at the bottom here. So in the fields, I've got the event type and the who's away field's been added, okay? Otherwise, it's a straightforward calendar. So let's build it. Let's build one of these puppies here. So here we are back in my sandbox where I like to play. No, there's no shovels or buckets involved. I'm going to create a new calendar. So I'm going to add an app. And it's going to be a calendar. There it is. So this is where I come over to my little design document on the left-hand side here. And what I recommend, this is how I do all of my builds. I build it in Word first. This layout here is a standard design document. It's one of the templates available to you. And all of the things that I need are mostly anyway are cut and paste. So the web address is here, leavecal. Control C, Control V. Why am I not giving it a nice friendly name here? Because I want to have a nice URL. So in the leave calendar here, when you create a new list or library, as I'm sure you know, the URL is really hard to change. I've actually found an easy way to do it now, but it's normally not changeable. Even when I go into calendar, list settings, and change the list name, navigation, and description to something friendly, let's call it leave calendar. Control C, Control V. And then I also will copy my SharePoint description. That's here as well. Control C, Control V. I like to display things on the quick launch while I'm working with them so that I have easy access to it. Click Save. Now, in my design on the left-hand side here, notice that it's a standard calendar plus the following. I've got 2 columns to add here. Who's away? Oh, you know I'm just going to copy that, don't you? Control C. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to add a new column. And waiting for it, paste in that, and it says to my design spec, it's a person, not a group. So I'm going to say person or group. I'm going to grab the description as well, Control C, paste the description in, refer to my spec. Is it mandatory? Yes, it is. Okay. Default none, and down here, people only or people in groups. People only is what it says here, not group. Okay, groovy. So I've added that column. Now this next one is what type of leave. So I'm going to copy that. Now down here in the calendar app, we already have a category. So I'm going to use that rather than duplicate it. I'm going to just rename it to leave type. It's already a choice field. So it says in my spec you could rename and use the category field as if you wish. Apparently I wish that. Oh, you have to excuse me. I'm reading the Lord of the Rings series again now and just loving it. So I'm just thinking about Denethor. Yes, I wish that. So I paste in the choices. And can you think of the reason that this copy and paste works really well for us? That's right, because Gerry is a really crappy typist. And Word has taken care of spell checking for us. There's no spell checking in that, what I've just in SharePoint, right? Okay, so the next thing in the spec, and there's not much more to it, is views. So there's an all events view, calendar by week, show who's away and the event title and the view. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the views now. There's the all events calendar view by week. I'm actually going to create a new view here. And I'm going to call it all events calendar view by week. Apparently I want a really long name for this. So this is a calendar view. You can create calendar views on any lists or libraries as long as you have a start and end date in there, because you can use them. So let's just paste some extra stuff at the beginning. Let's make it the default view. And according to my spec, the month view titles is going to say who's away. And the week view title is going to be who's away as well. So you know what these fields are doing, right? This is in the calendar view, what's being shown. So let's put the title in next here, T for title, there it is. And the day view, same idea, W for who's away, and location, T for title. And can you tell I'm not a very patient person? Let's get it done. Okay, and let's say okay. Now there's a few other views I can create here, but you've created the basic calendar here. Now the next thing that I want to make sure that I include is content approval is enabled so managers can approve events. Do you know where to do this? Content approval. Very interesting feature in SharePoint. You can use this on any list or library. It's in the list settings. So because this is a classic list, we have to go in, events list settings, but it's here in the advanced settings. No, it's not. It's in the versioning settings. Oh, it is here. Ha! I'm going to try and contradict myself a few more times during this session. So in advanced settings, should trust myself, allow management of content types. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to go too fast. It is in the versioning settings. And so I taught myself to slow down. There it is. First thing, require content approval on submitted items. When I set this to yes, notice there's a link over here on the left-hand side. Use those links, super handy stuff, right? Learning about requiring approval. There's a great little article. So many of these articles are written so well by Microsoft, really well-written stuff. So I don't need to get into a lot of detail. At a high level, what this means is that if I don't have list approval permissions, which is a edit or above type level or a custom permission, I can post to this calendar till the cows come home. That's an expression that my grandmother used to use. And nobody will see my postings until they're approved by someone who does have list management rights. So what this does is in my leave calendar scenario is you can allow people to post to the calendar, but then the manager has to go in and approve those entries. So you'll find there's a special view that gets created called approve reject items. Here it is. So the approver can use this approve reject items to approve or reject submissions. So it's not doing anything fancy here. It's not an email or a workflow or a Power Automate or anything right now. It is just the simple show me approval or rejection. So very, very simple. And what we look for is simple now. Now that I've built this, I can modify it. I can enhance it. Remember, Tiki, one of them is iterate over time. So you'll see that down in the governance, in the IDs for enhancement, one of the first things is to build some more logic for streamlining the approval. Use a workflow or a Power Automate to email the manager or whatever. There's a number of ways to expand this. This handout is available to you. I can't remember if I said that or not. So you'll get this by emailing me or possibly through the event. Haven't quite figured out that detail yet. See, we figure it out as we go. So that is the leave calendar in its basic format. I don't want to spend more time on that. I want to jump into the timesheet. And Russ, you'll let me know if there's any questions, right? Because I'm just driving forward here. Let's go back to my Sandbox site and go back to the home page. And for the timesheet, we actually can create this as a custom list in modern SharePoint. So let's get into it. Right here on the home page, I can add a list. Wow, it's the first thing on the pull down. Must be important. Now, when you're adding a list here, you're adding a custom list. If I wanted to add something like you saw that when I added the calendar, I went into add an app. The app is the old style where we can add calendars and contact lists and all kinds of cool things. This is a new custom modern list. So I'm going to use the timesheet spec on the left here, and I'm going to copy the web address, timesheet. Actually, I'm going to use this one here because that saves me one step. it's only one word. I'm not going to have any spaces in the name. And I like to put a description. The description is kind of best practices, right? It allows people to hover over and see what this thing is. I'll show it in the site navigation. Let's just use that checkbox. So this is this modern list creation experience, but it's really similar to what we used to do with custom lists. You get a list and it's got a title and not much else. So in the timesheet list, I've got some columns to add. So let's create some of these. I can create columns in a modern list right here. I can add a column. So this is going to be a date field as per my spec. If you notice my head jumping around, it's because I'm looking over here. I don't have to think. I just have to refer to the recipe. Ooh, oh, I got to remember that, Russ. That's a good one. Call it a recipe. In the next book, I will. I'm going to skip description to save time. This is a date and time. I'm going to just make it a, straight up. Yeah, include time, no. And is it mandatory? Yes. So, and the default value is today. The mandatory options are here under more. So let's just click on more options. I said click on more options. And there it is. Required, yes, so required. Okay, and save. So we're adding columns here. Oh, okay, let me keep going here. Work done by. So I like to use this as a choice or a user lookup. You can do it either way, depending on how you're going to be using your list. Let's add this one, and we'll use it as a user lookup. So that's a person field. And blamity, bing, bang, boom, there it is. Skipping the group. So it's a person or group, no, not groups. And this again is mandatory, required, yes. Okay, project your job. Now this is an interesting one. When I first discovered this in SharePoint, I'm embarrassed how nerdy I went. It was like, is that ever cool? I can do that. So over here we have a list of projects. This is a SharePoint list. It uses SharePoint list technology. Wow, that sounded good. So I can do all the things that I could do with any SharePoint list in terms of permissions and adding columns and that sort of thing. So this is a list of projects I can build time to. So let's go back to the timesheet, and I can add a column here, and it's a lookup column. I don't see it there. Let's go to more, and we'll get into our sort of traditional SharePoint column type. Oops, I didn't copy yet. So let's just call this project. Doesn't say that I can't improvise while I go, does it? So this is a project, and there it is, lookup. So information already on the site. So it's lookup against another list. So here's the list. Get the list from not documents, but projects. Oh, and which field do I want to use? Come back. The project name. Yes, that's cool. I want to do that. Okay. Now, a couple more fields here, 3 more. So let's do them all. Hours. Doesn't make sense if I don't add some of these fields, right? When I was trying to do my session yesterday, there was one person that joined specifically for this timesheet. And I've built this for a number of consulting companies. It works really well. It's so simple. So number, Okay, that should be mandatory as well, but I'm going to save a minute. The details. So this is multiple lines of text. Oh, so I have to scroll to the right here. So let's grab, and this is a multiple lines of text column. And I want to make sure that it's fairly simple. Let's keep it 3 lines of text. And I don't want rich text formatting. I don't use rich text unless I really need it because it messes with the quick edit view, unless they've changed that, because stuff changes all the time. Now, I want to say the status is next. Now, the status is an interesting field that I use. Oh, by the way, I use a version of this for my own consulting practice all the time, like every day. So the status, I made a choice field, and so it's status. And here I'm going to grab the new or processed as my choices. So what this helps me do is, get rid of that extra character, is, let's use the default value of new, is allows me to let people enter timesheet records, and then I can process them. I can say, once I've finished, in my case, when I download the timesheet into the pivot table, which I'll show you in a second, I can then create invoices from it. I copy paste in my QuickBooks app, and there's some better ways to do it, but this is working for a small organization. And then I set those records to processed. So I know that I've billed them already, and I'm not at risk or less risk of billing the customer twice. Now, this next one is a bit tricky. The internal comments, this is something we do quite often, is that this title field, you can't remove. The title field is always there in a list, but I don't really need a title field in my timesheet. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take that and I'm going to repurpose it. Column settings, rename. So I can call this internal comments. And it doesn't always show up everywhere. It's still title behind the scenes. If you're looking at the metadata or the field name behind the scenes, it is still called title, but in most places it'll show up as internal comments. Now, what I like to do with that right now is in the list settings is make that non-mandatory, because the title field is mandatory by default. See that? Required. And notice it still says title here, even though I renamed it. So I'm going to rename it here as well, just for making sure, I don't know. And I'm going to make it non-mandatory. Okay. Seems like that rename on the modern page interface isn't quite as sexy. So, and then I'd rearrange the view a little bit as well. So there's a number of views, which I won't bother creating, but they're super easy to create. My work this week. Actually, let me create that one view, because there's one trick that maybe you know about, maybe you don't. Let me go into list settings and create a view. So I'll scroll down to the views. How's this going, everyone? Is it making sense? Feel free to pipe up in the Q&A. So I'm going to create a standard view. And maybe I put you all asleep already. My work this week. And I'm going to make it the default view as it says in my spec, okay? And internal comments, I'm going to put that at the end. Somewhere at the end, I don't care where. And I won't bother with the status, sort descending first. But the key here, the first part of it, I'm going to not worry about the sort, but the filter is right here. And this is going to be the work done by field is equal to, and as it says right here, one of the main, I used to do a lot of training, and one of the main things we taught people, maybe the only thing we taught people, was read the screen. It says right there. So me means the current logged in user. So with this view, it shows my current hours and nobody else's. Okay, really cool. So as I said, when you are looking at a new list or library, click the new button to see what it looks like. Okay, so I just want to rearrange the order of these fields a little bit. That's internal comments, which is intended to be kind of like a way to use that title field, and not super important, but maybe it's going to be used. I'm going to reorder that a little bit. So let's see. I'm going to go into the list settings. And as you probably know, you can reorder the fields right here. There's some exceptions where this doesn't work when you're using certain content type management, but here in most cases, I can move internal comments to the end and project hour details. Yeah, I like the order of that. So otherwise, the fields show up in the order that you create them in. So think about that when you're writing your spec, and go ahead and what's the word? I used to work with a guy who was really good at business, and he said that, yeah, most of his businesses were created by a lot of R&D. I said, oh, research and development. He said, no, rip off and duplicate. So rip off and duplicate whatever you can find. This is free for the taking. I'm offering it to you. Use this methodology. Okay, so that's the timesheet. Over in my SharePoint and practice site, I've already built it. I'm just going to refresh so I can see how that works over here. There we go. So when I create a new item in this timesheet record, there's the work date, work done by. So let's say it was me again. And I worked 2 hours, and the details were, yes, I made this a field that is a rich text field, didn't I? Okay, so this, come on. This is really hard to see. These dark backgrounds, they look great, and then there's areas which they don't work, like this one. You know what? I'm going to change my theme right now. Bonus feature. Let me just save this first. Notice the status is defaulting to new, and here's the project down here. So it's a lookup against that project list, right? Let's say this is Junior Network Inc. Save. So let me change my theme here because I'm not finding this is really awesome to show you stuff. So I'm going to go with a dark, not the dark yellow. Where's the light yellow one? Okay, orange it is. Trying to match my logo up here, you know. Okay, so now that I've created a new item, I should be able to see my work this week. There it is. And come on. Looks like there's an error with my view. This is showing more than this week. Okay, I'll fix that later. But here we are, 5/28. That's today, and there's one item there. Yeah, there's an error in this view apparently. There's a few other views such as all items. Whoops. All items, which is kind of the default view, and the unprocessed records. So this is the one where I can go in and quick edit. So when I'm processing items, I'll copy and paste these records, and then I'll quick edit, and I'll say, okay, now I've already invoiced for these. I'll say they're processed, and of course, you know that you in the quick edit view you can drag to fill to say these are all processed. Boom. Just like in Excel, right? So I hope I'm teaching you some stuff you didn't know already. Let's exit quick edit. Now, one of the things that's really handy in SharePoint lists is the export to Excel. I think I clicked exit quick edit, but waiting for it to actually exit here. What's going on? I'm just going to refresh. There we go. We're at a quick edit now. Up here, notice in the ellipsis. Oh, sorry, not in the ellipsis. Right here, export to Excel. So you can export any list or library to Excel, and it creates a query, an iQuery type of file in your Excel. And it's a one-way query, so I can modify things here in this list, and then I can open up my Excel. I can export it once, and then I can refresh it any number of times. In case you weren't sure if I was telling you the truth or not, here it is in Excel. So I exported this to Excel like when I released my book, so 2 years ago. And there's a query list here. So notice the most recent item is the 26th, and today is the 28th. So I'm going to refresh. So I have a shortcut up here in the quick access toolbar. But if I go into data and refresh all, it'll go out and you'll see oh, it's so quick you didn't see it. It's going out to SharePoint and bringing the information back from SharePoint. Here's this new record, and it says, this is awesome-y. Okay, great. And then I've got a pivot table in my spreadsheet, so I can refresh this pivot table as well. And I have the ability to see all those records. And this is a standard pivot table. I'm not here to teach you Excel, but that was the Junior Network Inc. So let me just show just those ones. And here's the one from May, 2 hours. Okay, if you're not sure, let's go and see it in another tab. There it is. This is awesome. That's the one. I purposely put a typo in there. Okay, did I say I wasn't going to lie to you? Okay, so let me just close that down. So that's the timesheet. How are we doing for time? Oh yes, excellent timing. So remember, in the handout you're going to get, there's ideas for enhancement. And what have we got here? So other fields like the GL code or the client name or time category, sometimes that's useful, like is it billable or internal, all useful and all exportable to Excel, for you can create these really sexy Excel pivot tables or reports really easily, you know. So improve the input methods. So sometimes we'll create it with Power Apps or the other word that we're not to talk about, and other tools to simplify or beautify. So for example, you might want to hide the work done by a field because just default to the person that's entering, for example, okay? And the archive method, so this list can build up over time, especially if you have a lot of people entering things into it. If you have a lot, be careful of that 5,000 list item view. So you can archive over time and remove, or I have a workflow to remove old records. Yeah, here's about archiving and that sort of thing. Okay. So next on the Agnita, I had a typo once. I typed Agnita instead of agenda, and I've never been able to go back. Okay, so the next thing is the all staff contact list. So let me just show you that first in the SharePoint and practice site. And let me refresh so we get that lighter theme again. My love-hate relationship with dark themes. Oh, come on. Refresh already. So the contact list, I've called it an all staff contact list, but the idea here is a central contact list. It's a SharePoint list, and it's really powerful to store information about contacts that might be internal, they might be external, and there's some really neat things you could do with this. I've got a few views here. One of the methods I recommend in my book is the Content Stewards group. These are people that help out with your SharePoint Microsoft 365 implementation, like a champions group. So I can see who those people are, because, hey, why not repurpose it? You know, you already have a list here. Put a flag in saying they're content stewards or not, or maybe put a flag in various other. So I also have by location. So, yep, you know how this is going to go. There's a list, there's a field in the list that tags where these people are. So there's 5 people in head office. I can expand to see who those people are, and the South Shore, West Branch, etc. So super easy, one list to rule them all. Oh, there I go again. So be aware. Oops, I also have a field for contact type. So this is a group by type. I really like these group by fields, which I'll show you here in a second. If you haven't used the group by fields, you're gonna love it. So these types, the type consultants versus media versus staff, okay? So it's really more than just all staff. It is a multi-purpose contact list. So let's build one of them there things for you all. So here it is, the practical design contact list. So it's going to be called contacts. So I'm going to create, and here it says standard contact columns plus. So I'm actually going to create a new app again, and I'm going to create it as a contact list here, contacts. And all these templates that we get with SharePoint are just awesome. So, oops, contacts. Usually I just copy and paste that, but apparently I didn't copy it very well, or not at all. Okay, so here it is in the site setting. Is it, Russ? Is it time for the SharePoint yet? Because I think I'm getting ready.
Yeah, I think everybody's ready for it. We're almost there.
I feel a little bit giddy. Well, after this session was kind of thwarted yesterday, I'm kind of excited to run it. So great. I'm not seeing any comments or questions from anyone. Is that because I'm doing a great job, or just a really terrible job?
I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, Russ. You'd say that because you're such a nice guy. So I'm going to go into the list settings here, and we're going to add some new columns this way, similar to doing it on the screen here. But, oh, I see what I did. Okay, hang on. Control Z. Control C, there we go. I'm going to add a new column, create a column, and the column is called contact type, Bing, and it's a choice column. And really, this just feels like paint by numbers, doesn't it? Once you have the spec done, and it's so easy to write this in Word and share that Word document in a way, Control A, Control V, in a way that people can view it and make sense of it. It's just a document. So you need to teach people about how to read one of these documents a little bit, but then, you know, it could be a group of SharePoint champions, or it could be your manager that you show this list to and say, yeah, there's going to be some fields that people can enter, and this is what they're called, and this is how they work, okay? There's the department field. I'm going to skip that over in the interest of time because I have 10 minutes left. And the location I'm going to put in just because I do want to show you that type of view. So I'm going to create a new column here, staff location, Bing. And this is a choice again. You get the idea. I like choice fields. Now, these choice fields, you can create them as site columns as well, like this staff location. Maybe I have a office's location. So rather than creating a column in the list, I would add a new site column. And in fact, that's a really good best practices type of thing. So you can do that from here as well. Notice add from existing site column. So I would add it as a site column first, and then I could choose it here. And of course, that could be used in multiple locations. So maybe that location would be used in my timesheet and in my contact list. So I create it once, edit it once, use it multiple places. Woo-ha, I'm such a nerd. Okay, so there's some of the fields we can create. Now, what I want to do is go over to the existing list to show you the view, because the views aren't that interesting without data in there, and I don't want you to be watching me type a bunch of data in. I didn't prepare a data set to load for you. Oh, wait, no, that's not true. I plan to do this. Sorry. Yeah. So in the contact list, let's make sure I am looking at contacts here. There's this nice feature that I haven't found in modern SharePoint yet, that is the connect to Outlook. I did want to show you this. So if I return to classic SharePoint at the bottom here, just temporarily, just bear with me for a second. I'm going back to classic SharePoint. Wait for it. Okay. I think I clicked return to classic. There it is. Good old classic SharePoint. Now, in classic SharePoint, now somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't found connect to Outlook yet in modern SharePoint. So connect to Outlook gives me access to this list in Microsoft Outlook. So apparently I closed my Outlook before the session to not distract me. All right, so in Outlook, it will come up in a second here. It will prompt me, do you want to connect this list? I promise it will. I might have to do the connect again in a second. So I've got this list of sample contacts in my contact list that I want to connect up here. Let me just do this again to see if I can bring up that dialog for you with Outlook open this time. Come on, Outlook. We're having a bit of a demo mode issue here. What this is supposed to do is come up with a prompt in Outlook. Are you sure you want to connect this list? And it's not doing it. Oh man, you were going to love this feature. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's just I'm impatient. Okay, that's one of my drawbacks. Okay, do you want to connect this SharePoint contact list to Outlook? Well, as a matter of fact, I do, because I want to show the nice people how this works. Okay, let me just maximize my screen, which you'll see I do all the time. So I've got, normally you'll see the contact list show up here, and I'm just going to refresh. There is a contact list in my other contacts, and sometimes it doesn't show up. Okay, I'm going to close Outlook and restart it again, because sometimes you have to do that to get it working. Now, while that's restarting, I'm going to go back over to my list, and I don't need the classic experience anymore, because once this is connected to Outlook, it's connected until I disconnect it. Okay, so let me go back to Outlook. I think I restarted Outlook. I think I'm just having some computer issues. Most of my computer issues come from me being impatient and clicking on things too quickly. So don't do what I do. Do what I say. Okay, so let's see if we can see that contact list here now. There it is. Okay, so now in my light lever sandbags contacts. So what this is showing me, the site name dash the list name. There's nothing in there right now, but if I want to take and load it up, this is a simple way to load your contacts. I'm going to Control A, which means select all, and then I'm going to drag these bad boys and girls over into contacts. Now down here at the bottom, it's updating this folder, trying to connect. I hope it actually connects here. And that will be uploading if the demo gods are smiling on me, as I heard Susan Hanley say in one presentation. And we'll get our contacts in here. Okay, so let's come back to that in a second. Let that run for a minute. Maybe it will actually upload. It's a great feature, and the fact that it doesn't show in modern SharePoint makes me wonder that maybe it's not always the way to go. Is it old technology? But it works 99% of the time. Here we go. So the other thing I'll show you is the export to Excel that I used in the calendar. I've also got that set up here in contact list. So here it's slightly differently. I've got a query, the export to Excel, and then I've just formatted that Excel list. So this is a straight pull from my SharePoint list and then format it, and I call it the printable contact list. And then you can actually go in and print this, because in spite of me going to all my clients, you don't want to print, you've got it online, have a nice day. Some people still want to print this. So you can actually take and make it kind of nice looking, printable, yet it's still connected to the list. So any changes to the list, when I update this, when I update this list here with refresh all, it will pull any changes from the list, including, people have moved around and everything else. And of course, you have this ability to, maybe you want a staff list for only for the head office. So you could just filter and print that. Really like some of the features that you get in Excel, and the fact you can export a list to Excel makes it really great. So let me get rid of that and pop over, just about out of time, pop over to Outlook, and it says all folders are up to date. Let me just do another refresh and come back to our contact list and refresh. I know I'm bouncing around a bit, people. It's just 50 minutes isn't very long for this. And yeah, it seems to have failed for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, no, it hasn't. It hasn't failed. Sorry, it just is me being impatient again. Okay, I'm going to slow down. I promise. I'm going to slow down right now. So look at this. So now we have a contact list that's been populated. Notice all of these have that little sparkle showing they're new. And this is a updatable field. So let's say that Mary Anderson is now no longer with School of Second Sight, but she's gone off on herself, and she's called MA and Associates LLC. So when I save that and go over to Outlook, so Outlook has to refresh to a send and receive, which it does automatically anyway, but oh yeah, we already established I'm impatient. And then I'll wrap up and get back to the PowerPoint here. So now, if I click on Mary Anderson, to see her details. We should see her new company name. Okay, it hasn't quite updated yet, but anyway, that's the concept. It will update. It's just a timing thing here. Usually you're not expecting it to update immediately, right? Are you? Okay. Mary Anderson. Maybe I forgot to save it in SharePoint. Anyway, so those are the concepts. And look at that. I just zipped through everything without going back to PowerPoint because, hey, who needs it? Yeah, all right. So I want to just thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, use these QR codes to do the magic of speaker feedback. I'd appreciate your feedback. I love doing these sessions. And if you give me positive feedback, they might ask me back again, even if I go too fast. And the event feedback, give us feedback, please, because we need to know how it went for you. We don't know. We don't know. In terms of wrapping up, I put a ribbon on the book here for you. The SharePoint in Practice ebook. I would like to have it for free. The basic ebook you can have for free, or the enhanced. There's a $10 off in here. So in the handout. So if you want to be sure to get the handout, email me. This is my email address, Gerry Brimacombe. So Gerry@lightlever.ca. See, Canadian and proud of it. You can get that way. And I think, Russ, there's other ways for people to get handouts as well, right? Like the PowerPoint and such.
Yeah, they're all going to be available from the website.
Okay, so I'll share that with you via the Teams team. So this is my company, Lightlever, no-code intranet solution, especially for small business and not-profit. And we're doing a Microsoft 365 in Practice video series. Share this with your people that are interested in getting started with Microsoft 365. We start with what the heck is this 365 thing, and then how to sign up for it. And then we talk about SharePoint and Teams, and today we just did one on Stream. And it's a really basic get started series. And then if you go to sharepointinpractice.com, you can see links to all of my books and the various templates that come with the book. All of my books. I have one book, but it's there's multiple versions of it. So that's it. Are there any questions or comments? I would welcome them if we have time.
There is none in there right now.
Okay, great. I'm slightly sad, but maybe it's because I did a great job.
Yeah, you're on time, so that works. That helps.
That's the main thing.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to check to see if Mary's updated here. Yeah, I think I didn't save it in SharePoint.